straight on the mic, or on the phones, I should say, and bring Dr. Kwadwo Oppong-Wadeɛ. Dr. Kwadwo Oppong-Wadeɛ is a writer, author, professor, and a lot more that he would not care to take credit for, but I will be very well pleased to tell you about. Anyhow, Dr. Kwadwo Oppong-Wadeɛ is our guest on today's discourse. We're also joined by President Kex Dan Pongo. Kex is a former deportee from Nigeria. We are indeed going to have a very solid discourse today. We'll look at it from all angles. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. Prof, thank you very much. And Kex, thank you very much for joining me on iCulture TV, Radio Culture.
Give thanks.
True.
Thank you very much. Okay, before we start the discussion, I would like us to watch this clip very quickly. We will be making reference to it. Let's watch it.
Well, if they don't leave, they should be arrested and tried and sent back to their homes.
On November 18, 1969, Buzia's cabinet issued the Aliens Compliance Order. It was short, clear, and strict. The order told all non-citizens without proper residence and work permits to leave Ghana within 2 weeks, with some professional categories given a bit more time. It was enforced across the country. The order targeted no one nationality on paper, but in practice, it hit West Africans who had been living and trading in Ghana for years, including large numbers of Nigerians. Markets in Accra, Kumasi, and Sekondi Takoradi had long been linked with Nigerian traders. Many of them suddenly had to show papers they did not have, or they would have to leave. By the late 1969 into early 1970, estimates suggest around 200,000 people were pushed to move. Different sources give different numbers for how many were Nigerians, but a very large number were Nigerians. Ghanaians facing worsening conditions after 1979, and then another change in government at the end of 1981 under Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings and the Provisional National Defense Council, kept moving to Nigeria. The Ghanaian cedi struggled. Shortages grew, and bushfires and drought would make 1983 especially hard. Nigeria, by contrast, still looked like a place where a person could earn real money, send something home, and maybe start over. But Nigeria's boom did not last. By 1981, the global oil price fell, government revenue shrunk, and the economy slowed. Lines formed at petrol stations. Factories cut shifts. Unemployment rose. In the north, severe unrest at the turn of the decade left deep scars. Politicians accused people they called illegal immigrants of taking jobs and contributing to disorder. The federal government, led by President Shehu Shagari, was under pressure. It was an election period in 1983. State governors, unions, and prominent voices in the press called for tighter borders. Immigration officers raided markets and workplaces. Street talk turned harsh. The idea that Ghana had sent Nigerians away in 1969 was still alive in public memory, and it gave a simple answer to a complex problem. If they sent our people away then, why can't we send people away now? On January 17, 1983, President Shehu Shagari's government announced that all foreigners without valid papers had to leave Nigeria within 2 weeks. Note the words. 2 weeks. Exactly the grace period the Ghanaian government gave for illegal immigrants to leave Ghana years before.
Buhari and Idi Abon can't drive us for Ghana must go. So that Ghana must go was so strict to extent that Buhari was announced in the radio station. Anybody sees that you harbor any Ghanaians or any aliens in your house, in your company, they will seize your company or they seize your house, because all of them were afraid. So because of that, we're ready to go. How can we go? Okay, one day we did Ajawa State, we group ourselves Ghanaians. How we go do, where we go? Hide. Some people say, let's go up here. So Kwara State, some push, they there. Let's go. Police come surround us, they carry us. In Ghanaians, many, let's say in thousands of Ghanaians, they put us for trailer, one big trailer. Go dump us, cross the semi border, go dump us for Cotonou, bury ground.
They go dump them for Cotonou, bury ground. We'll pick up from there, but I want us to pause here and talk a little bit about all this. Kex, I want to start with you. You had a personal experience. What was it like? Do you remember? Does this remind you of anything at all? Tell us.
I was deported twice from Nigeria. The first one was the mass deportation in February 1983. That one, we have to leave our houses, and go and prior to the deadline, because they gave us a deadline. But the citizens, the Nigerians, the Yoruba people, or the Lagosians were like, as soon as they see you on the street moving about, where they know say you be Ghanaian, they will start beat you or start ask you, "Oh my Ghana, you know go yet?" And we joke, it will turn at something. So we have to be hiding. So it reach a time some of us have to leave our houses and go and camp in the harbor at Apapa Wharf, where there's a ship coming to pick us. Over there, we sleep on the open air, open place, and a lot of people died. People, you can just be walking and you have to step across a decomposing dead body right on the floor there, on the ground in the harbor, and not one, not two, And then eventually the ship came. When the ship came, we started boarding the ship. Because people were rushing, the monkey ladder broke. It got, broken, and then it had to...
Explain to us what the monkey ladder is, Kex. And what year was this, by the way?
That was 1983, February.
Okay. And the monkey ladder.
The monkey ladder is the ladder they used to descend from the ship and climb the ship from when we are on shore. There's a ladder on the side of the ship. They will lower it down, and then when you guys climb it, then when the ship has to move, then they wind it up again. But I think the weight was too much for the people who were rushing to the place. So unfortunately, it collapsed, and a lot of people entered the water like that through it, and they fell in between the sea and the ship and the wharf. So most of them who are not lucky could get crushed, or at least it will be difficult to get them removed. So it reach an extent there are containers packed at the wharf whereby they are like close to the sea, the ships. So we have to form groups. We stay in three groups so that one person will be staying with the items on the ground, and then the next person will climb the container, and the next person will go into the ship. Oh, you climb the container and jump into the container and jump into the ship. So when you on the ground, we tie a rope to the you tie a rope to the luggage, and then the one up will pull the luggage, and then carry it to the one in the ship, and the one in the ship will put it down. So that is how we manage to climb the ship safely without getting killed again. And then just after the ship starts sailing, we noticed that there was water entering the ship through the place we boarded through. Because most of us, as we board, as a matter of fact, if you enter the ship, you don't have anywhere to move to. Where you stand, that's where you can only stand, because there's too many people in the ship. So because we were all loaded at one side with our goods and things, the ship have to balance to the left side. And then they have to instruct all of us to go to the other side of the ship. And we went there, and then we balanced the weight now before we set off. And we set off in the afternoon, around 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then we spent the whole night on the sea with cold. Some people have climbed to the towers on top of the ship, and they were sitting up there. And when they are feeling to piss, they just have to piss, because they can't come down and go anywhere to piss. So they just piss, and because of the breeze, it will just be spraying on the people on the ground. You know, until we reach Tema in the morning around maybe between 11 and 12 o'clock. Then we have to wait in the breakwaters. Breakwaters is where the ships wait for space to enter the harbor. And then we entered the harbor and we discharged, and then we were given vehicles to take us to our various communities. The people who came by road.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that. But before we do that, let me ask Prof quickly. Prof, you were probably a child at the time. Do you have any recollection of this quickly before we come back to Kex to tell us about those who came by road and other means? Do you have any recollection of this, Professor Kojo Ponwade?
Yeah, give thanks, Emperor, and greetings to you, Emperor. And I want to say greetings to my big brother, Kex. Salute, and give thanks for that. Background. Yeah, I wasn't a child like that. In 1983, I remember very clearly. The ship came to Tema Harbor. That's where the people were disembarked, or the people disembarked from, and it was like it had a huge impact on Tema, because people are coming in. They've been in Nigeria. Some of them left their homes, and didn't feel like going back to those homes. So when they came to Tema, they were just there. They were just around, and so it had a huge impact on, like, I would say, the housing of Tema. People had to take people in. It had a huge impact on the economy. And I can say that, as far as I know, there is no family I know that did not have somebody, either a member of that family or a family friend, who did not come to that family for some kind of assistance. Like my own family, we had some family friends who actually they stayed with us for about 2 years, if not more, when they returned from Nigeria, having stayed in Port Harcourt and surrounding areas. So it's something that I remember very vividly. It's not like, and you say you're going to talk about those who came by road. That's a whole different aspect as well. And of course, even though I got to hear a lot of stories that which I still remember, stories about the experiences that Ghanaians went through when this eviction notice was given, and the kind of atrocities they had to endure, the kind of strategies that they had to come up with, as our big brother Kex even just shared some with us, to survive, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember it very, very well. I believe I was about 13, 14 by then. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. And we will also get to hear about the some of the stories, some of the beautiful stories that we don't hear often, right, on the news and everything, because through all of this, we'll get to hear what the government of Ghana did, not just for Ghanaians, but for all Africans who were being pushed out of Africa. I mean, out of Nigeria at the time. And this is not just a one-off thing. We also remember in the case of Liberia, what the
Right.
government of the time did. But let's get back to Nigeria for a second. Kex, let's come back to you. Those who came by road, we've heard many stories about those who came by road. Let's pick up from here and then we will come back to you. Let's go back to the video first.
Be like the whole island, the Berrigan, very big place near sea. Be like the whole island, go dump us there. So they go dump us there, and they dump us there. Nigeria soldiers cross near semi-border there. You cannot cross them. Come inside, come and buy food. Whereby we host, everybody hosts more money. Cotonou soldiers also block, let's say, from here to Aja side. So you cannot cross them too. Go Cotonou, go buy food. So we there inside murder, under coconut. Every day we dey eat coconut, morning, afternoon, evening, fresh one, dry one, fresh one, dry one. Crying for God. Where our help from? Is it how we are going to die? Every morning when you wake up, say, this one die, you. This one, people are crying.
By the time of the aliens compliance order, I was actually in Kumasi. And what I remember was that, when the compliance order was given by the Busia government, everybody was saying that they say Nigerians should leave. They say Nigerians should leave. So everybody was running helter-skelter. People were selling their properties, buildings, and running to Nigeria. I was then a student. I think I was in my first year or second year at Legon. So you used to come to where we have, around 37 area as people were moving, heading towards the border of Lao to continue their journey to. But one thing I've always said was that it was out of fear that our people started moving. Because they said aliens compliance order, if you don't have a resident permit, go for one, regularize your stay. But our people didn't understand. They didn't know how to go about all these things. And the fear that something might happen for so many of our people to leave unceremoniously.
I will recall this thing when Busia came. It happened during the Ramadan. We started the fasting, about 10 or so, and said, this is Radio Ghana. Since that time, I've memorized the thing and it's my head. Say Ghana Munti, those days is Ghana Munti, Ghana Munti. Then say, this is Radio Ghana. The time is 6 o'clock. That was what he was reading that day. The wording was that it has come to the notice of Ghana government. It has come to the notice of Ghana government that a lot of aliens are living in the country without the requisite papers. So the government is hereby giving all those people 2 weeks to regularize their papers, their documents. Else they have to leave the country. That is the wording. They didn't say pick your bag and tomorrow go.
In 1982, when I was in Jos, I was one of the person Nigeria was also pursuing to say go back to Ghana. Yes, they attacked me several times. They captured me even inside the vehicle. If I had known, I would have followed them to Ghana. And
why did they say that?
They say I look like Ghanaian. They say my structure, my face, everything look like Ghanaian. I black like Ghana, so I must go. I say I'm not Ghanaian, so I'm a Nigerian. Until they took me to my state, Cross River State, to find out with my parents, and that is why they released me. If not, they chase Ghana like if you are chasing animal.
Kex, let's pick up where we left off. So
Yeah.
now, those who came by road. Before that, you said you had been deported twice. Clear
Yeah.
that up. When was the second time?
I went back when we came back in
Don't tell us the whole
February.
story. Just give us the idea, because I want us to build up to that.
When we came back, I went back in the same year, 1983, around August. That is where I went back, and then I got into trouble again and got deported again.
Oh, okay. So that wasn't a mass deportation.
Yeah, it was two different locations, not the same.
Okay, all right. Now, those who came by road, what stories have you heard? Tell us.
Oh, as far as we know, when they were coming, the way that articulators were loaded, people were sitting on top of their loads inside the articulator. So it's very high. And then on the motorway coming, because there's a bridge on the motorway which allows, which the railway line uses to cross the motorway. When they reached there, the driver too didn't know that the load was too high for the bridge. So a lot of people who were on the bridge got crashed and died, and then some of the goods, pushed down from on top of the bridge.
I see.
Yeah.
Doc, what have you also heard about some of those who came by road?
Well, I remember hearing that. I believe it was the border between Benin and Nigeria, and as shared in the video, but also the border between Benin, Togo, where a lot of them had to wait for like days, like in trucks, and also I remember the yellow gege buses, we used to call them back in the day. A lot of them we heard that they were out there for like days just trying to cross the border, and it was so slow. So people had to be coming in one by one, and the whole pressure of being there, sometimes with kids, and the difficulty in finding food, and even catering to your bodily needs, were something that were brought to the fore. Like it was something that was really highlighted as one of the difficulties of the road trip coming back home.
Yes, because at the time, Togo was not on very friendly terms with Ghana.
True.
And had refused to allow safe passage, right? So it took some negotiation for them to create a small corridor for them
There was
to pass.
there was a blockage of border between the two countries.
Mm-hmm. Okay, there you go. So now, if you from the video that we watched, courtesy book number 7, newsroom, please take the banner of that video. It's not showing anymore. But by that video, if you and please go follow book number 7. He did an amazing job with that video, I think. But if you watch the whole thing, there's a part where they're talking about they actually fed on coconuts for weeks, just coconuts. Right? Living in a cemetery for weeks until the Ghanaian government sent a helicopter to find them. And then they could not even, the helicopter could not land because the whole place was full of coconuts. So they had to virtually run about half a mile to get out of the coconut area, to a point where they could drop a line and pick them up and all that. And what I want to say here is this. I'm trying to contrast the vanity of trying to flush out other Africans from a country versus the other country that comes with the helicopter, they didn't say, who's this? Who's that? Where are the Ghanaians? Nothing. From the guy's story, the helicopter came, pulled everybody, brought them to Accra, and then put them in a place. And then that's when the government asked, okay, where are the Sierra Leoneans? Where are the Liberians? Where? And then redistributed them back to their countries, which is how I think we should be behaving, not
Absolutely.
the other way around. I would want us to come to the current day, what's going on with all this talk about Nigeria must go, which I find very unfortunate. But before we go there, I want us to look a little more at the two sides, right? Both. And the thing is that, Kex, we're talking about the Nigeria one, but we may also have some knowledge, even though I don't think any of us were born at the time or know too much of it at the time. We may have heard about what happened before the Nigerian one, because the Nigerian one was a reaction, right?
Yes.
They may have misunderstood the reason for Ghanaians sending them away, and I don't even sign on to that, because they said, okay, if you don't have papers, go get papers. That's nonsense, because prior to that, Africans had traded among ourselves for generations over generations. People had married. Nigerians had married in Ghana, made a home. Nobody told them they needed any papers to do that. They had lived there, built their businesses, and then you give them 2 weeks to get some papers that they don't even know about. Remember, the guy who spoke says he was in his second year in Legon, so he knew how to get papers. Versus somebody who has a small store in Makola, and you say, no, within 2 weeks, you have to get papers or leave. Otherwise, my first reaction will be to pack and leave. Am I wrong to think that way, Doc?
No, but also I think that there is something that is not being communicated. The government of Ghana knew in 1969 that all the Nigerians living in Ghana were not going to be able to regularize their stay within 2 weeks.
There you go.
Right. And even though the aliens compliance order was directed at anyone who was not a Ghanaian citizen, it was primarily targeted at Nigerians, right? Because the government had come into power. They had put out this whole propaganda that Kwame Nkrumah was mismanaging the economy and not doing the right things and all this kind of thing. Now they come into power and they're like, whoa. Kwame Nkrumah was doing a super job. We are not being able to as we say, sit up, So
radio culture.
So they decided to find somebody who they could blame for the economic hardships in the country, and Nigerians were an easy target. And so they primarily targeted Nigerians and blamed them. But yeah, that was not the right thing to do, because as we see, it came back to haunt us, right? When Nigeria also was going through economic hardship, the government then found it expedient to blame Ghanaians who were in the country for the economic hardships that they were facing, and decided to also deport Ghanaians from Nigeria. Now, notice that Nigeria, being a bigger country compared to Ghana, also suggests that the migration, the number of the population that migrated from Nigeria in 1983 was much greater than the population that migrated to Nigeria from Ghana in 1969. So the impact, I think, was felt by Ghana, and Nigeria did that as a retaliatory measure. Well, if you did it, then we can also do it. Yeah.
Yep. And Kex, so after you came back to Ghana, right? How long did it take you to go back to Nigeria? And let me ask you, what was the experience like? All of a sudden, you have left to go live your life in a foreign place, foreign in quotes, right? And then all of a sudden you are just yanked right back. When you came back, you don't have any support, or did you have any support to be on? Like you have something, okay, here's my farm, here's my business, here's my whatever. So I'm going to
no. What happened was that
speak for the general, in general terms, for the people who were brought back like that.
Well, what happened was that Ghana was under sanctions in 1983, international sanctions, and there was drought. There was no rain. There was like some drought and famine in the country before we came back. So it was not easy at all for most people to blend in. And food was very scarce. You hold money and you'll be looking for food and you can't get food. That was the time when there's someone making kenke. We have to go there and place stones in the line. That the stone represents you when when the line move. When the kenke ready, then you go and collect the kenke without boiling and bring it home and come and boil it yourself. If you want to wait till they finish boiling before you go and buy, you will not get some. You know.
Wow.
So even we live a lot on this dry coconut same way. We always go and buy dry coconut and eat, in place of food because you can't get no food to eat. And then we in Tema, we took advantage of the Tema Harbor. There were importations of food and yellow corn and rice and sugar. So we always go there, and when there's a broken sack, we rush for it and collect it. And there was a lot of gunfire going on. It's like a battlefield. You can be shot dead any moment because the soldiers were giving the order to shoot and kill anybody who is obstructed because we were too many. So that year was a tough year for Ghana. There was bushfires all over the place and all the food to get destroyed. In that made me have to leave back. I left Ghana back in August, the same year. So that means between February and August, I'll be like 6 months I stayed in Ghana, and I have to go back to
Back
Nigeria.
to Nigeria, what was the motivation? All the monkey ladder breaking, all the people dying in front of you. You still found the motivation to go back?
Yeah, we still wanted to make money to come and make ends meet in Ghana here. Because by then, the smallest money you get there, if you bring it to Ghana, is big money. Just like what is happening now.
Had things at that time, had things calmed down a little bit for you to be like, oh, okay, now the tension is down a little bit, I can go back. Had things calmed down?
Oh, there were a lot of Ghanaians who didn't come. So as we know that they were there and they are still there, nothing is going on again about that. I went. But when I went, that is where I had the second. Well, that would have been my third deportation, but that was the second one was an attempt. We were just lying down. I was lying on the veranda where I sleep, out just on the porch, when I just felt some feeling of pain on my buttocks, and they say I should wake up. I should wake up. I wake up. No, soldiers, soldiers with weapons. Pack your everything and join and follow us. You are going back to Ghana. You're not coming back here again. So take everything you want, all your belongings. Then I said, okay, then I don't have too much to carry, so I just followed them. And I knew that I may come back, so I didn't want to carry anything anyway. I followed them. We went, they took us to Ikeja. A lot of Ghanaians and foreigners were there. And then we were all sitting outside in the sun like that till they arranged articulators and put immigration officers inside and drove us all the way to. They put the military inside first, who drove us to the border at the Seme border. Then that's Badagry. They put us. They changed. They redid. They put immigration officers in the vehicle, and then they drove us in articulators. Plenty of us, over 100 people in one articulator, and then we went through Benin. When we were in Benin, the Beninois were just throwing stones at us and hooting at us, And then we came to the Ghana Togo, the Togo Benin border, which is the Hilakoji. When we reach Hilakoji now, the Togolese say there's no open border between Togo and Ghana. So if they bring us into Togo and dump us there, we are just going to become a burden on them. So they either leave us on the no man's land or they take us away back. So these guys intended to leave us on the no man's land, and then some of us rebelled and told them that where they came to arrest us from our houses. They can't come and leave us in some place we don't know what to do. So if they don't want to take us back, we shall drive. We shall tie them up and drive back to Nigeria. And when they hear that, they have to turn and bring us back to Nigeria. So when we were coming, they were supposed to go to First Tag Village, which before that is where you go reach before you go reach Lagos. But the truck took us past the First Tag Village, and we reached Oshodi. And then that is where the vehicle slowed down movement. And then some of us escaped by dropping from the truck and then finding our way back to our places. You know, that was the second attempt to deport us.
This was still in 1983?
Yeah, this was the same 83. It was a very rough year for us. You know, it's the same 83. I think early 84. Then we were walking on the street again, and then we were arrested for wandering. That means they ask of your ID card where you are working. If you couldn't show any good reason, then you are arrested. Those days, we learned that the police were being accused of not doing any work. So they just decided to do some random arrests to show say they are working. So we were unfortunate to be part of it. So we were taken to court and then sent to prison. We were in prison for 3 weeks, and then 6 weeks, and to be deported. So the 6 weeks was about 32 days. After the 32 days, we were brought to the entrance of the prison. We went through the first gate and went through all the formalities of being discharged from prison. Then they have to bring us back inside to keep us there for awaiting deportation. And that awaiting deportation kept us there for 5 more months.
What?
You know, under a condition where they only remove you from, they will just bring you out for 1 hour to come and bath and then go back and sleep. You know, for 5 good months. And I personally have to write some letters, smuggle some letters out to the authorities and also even to Ghana Foreign Affairs. You know, and then we hear us that they came and took the first batch of 2, I think 25 people away. That was after 2 weeks.
So
they took them away.
I see. So Kex, eventually you got deported back to Ghana?
Yeah, we were flown out of Nigeria to Ghana.
This time you came by
1985.
85 under Buhari.
Yeah.
So
I think that was under this guy, the new one. Is it Babangida or one? I think so, Babangida.
I think it was under Buhari. But anyhow, so this time you came by air. All right. So now we've got an idea what all 3 forms of migrating to Ghana looks like. Now let's quickly transpose the whole discussion to the current day, right? And then look at what is going on today. Doc, we've heard, I believe you have heard all this noise on social media and even traditional media about Nigeria must go, all sparked by this gentleman who is positing as a sort of monarch of the Igbo people. Just yesterday or so, a politician, Hassan Ayarga, who we invited to speak with us, and we'll go into that later. But he presented a petition to the Gamanche to stop the Igbo king from celebrating his Yam festival. There are even calls for him to be arrested, etc., etc. He went to the Tumfor's palace, was denied a handshake with the monarch. Doc, from where you sit, what are you seeing? What generally, what are you seeing with all this noise going on about Nigeria must go, against the backdrop of all that we have just discussed?
I think the first thing I'm seeing, Emperor, is the fact that we are not learning from history. That's the first thing. If Nigeria goes, understand that Ghana too will go, and I understand that there are about 2 million Ghanaians living in Nigeria right now, estimated, right? So we have to also imagine what the impact on the economy of Ghana would be if those 2 million Ghanaians are to be repatriated to Ghana right now. But let's take it back to this gentleman who is posing as an Igbo king. First of all, let me say that I think that the reactions of the people who are demanding for Nigerians to go and how they are reacting to this whole Igbo king, I think is misplaced and is an overreaction. If anybody from any country can come to Ghana and set up a kingdom, that is speaking to how weak our institutions are as a country. That shouldn't even be something that we should, as a people, be afraid of, unless our institutions are totally in shambles, where somebody can just come and say that I've purchased some land and I'm going to start a kingdom. That is a no-go. So first of all, let's put that even aside. Also, this gentleman, let's not forget that the Igbos, by their cultural orientation, are an acephalous people. They don't have kings per their own tradition.
Exactly.
So to position yourself as an Igbo king in Ghana is also misplaced. And then, if you look even here in America, Emperor, we have the ever chief of, say, Chicago. We have the Fanti chief of, say, Chicago. We have the Frafra chief of Chicago. We have all these things, right? We have festivals, which the government does not obstruct or prohibit anyone from celebrating their cultural festivals. I think that to deny the Igbos in Ghana an opportunity to celebrate their festival is a little bit of extreme, if you ask me, because how is that going to hurt anybody?
So
right?
can I play a little advocacy here?
Yes, please.
There you go. There you go. So I've heard it said that there's already a yam festival in Ghana, right? And here comes somebody who, first of all, as we have established, does not have the requisite institutional background to represent a monarchy, right? And he comes with a yam festival when there's already a yam festival here in Ghana. So people have issues with that.
Okay, let me push back a little bit on that as well. So, what is a yam festival? See, this whole idea of a yam festival is a European designation, and this is what I mean. When the Europeans came and they saw us Africans having festivals, and yam being one of the primary foods that are eaten during these festivals, which are festivals of what do you call reorganization and renewal.
Yeah.
They called all these festivals yam festivals. So, for instance, there is no every festival, Fofie or whatever is celebrated in Ghana, Nigeria, everywhere that is around yam, they just call it yam festival. So there is not even only one yam festival in Ghana. When you put it that way, there are many, many, many hundreds, possibly thousands of yam festivals. Now,
but the other side is that people are saying that he hasn't grown any yams in Ghana, right? The yam festival is to celebrate the harvest, right? But
that is true.
Any yams in Ghana, and are you going to import the yams from Nigeria to?
No, but you see, I think that is a little bit of it is a stretch, right? So, true, he has not grown any yams in Ghana. Well, we would need to verify with him, but let's say that he has not grown any yams in Ghana, right? Right. But the idea is to celebrate the
festival,
Importance of
their forefathers and their foremothers, right? In their new location, which is in Ghana. So even though the festival may not necessarily be around yam per se in this instance, as you pointed out, that they may not have grown any yams, but they're seeking a space to also, engage in the practices that they engage in Igbo land in their new locale, which is in Ghana. And that shouldn't present any threat to anybody. It shouldn't be something that we are scared of and call for Nigeria must go as a result. And again, this doesn't need a monarch to be able to do. I mean, even, you can have 10, 12 people in a community come together and say, oh, we are celebrating our festival and, let's do it. So, for me, I don't see the whole point of stretching this whole thing, saying that they cannot celebrate. Now let's also put things in historical context a little bit. Before this gentleman came, there were Igbos in Ghana. The Igbos have been in Ghana from my mother was a student. You understand? Yeah. My mom went to school with a lot of Igbo people who have been in Ghana for the longest time. Now that we're saying that, okay, you all cannot celebrate your Yam Festival, understand that that's also going to impact those who have been here and have been doing these things for the longest time. So I don't think that we should use the activities of one person, which is this, and even whatever he's to be, it's not anything that we should be worried about. Unless we are saying that our system is so porous, which I would rather refuse to think that way, that our system is so porous that anybody, because that is very scary. If that's the case, anybody can come from anywhere and set up a kingdom and have their own, festival and celebration and monarch in the land of Ghana, which has its own constitution, has its own traditional setups, has its own understandings. If that system is so porous, then we have a problem, and we should be looking inward, if that is the case, as to how to tighten that system and not outward.
Not blame it on the effect, right?
Absolutely.
We should be looking at the cause and not the effect, I guess is what you're saying, Doc.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed.
Thank you very much. We have our other guests ready for the other interview. A member of Parliament for Santia Chim North is joining us very soon. But before we bring on Ohene, Honorable Ohene Kwame Frimpong. And by the way, you know me, before I add honorable to your name, it means you've done something honorable. So we're going to be talking tomatoes and politics very soon. But before we do that, let's wrap up the discussion. Cakes, against the backdrop of everything that you have experienced it, and you also know, I mean, it's not just from what you've seen, it's also from what you've been through. What do you think a potential impact of a Nigeria must go will be on Ghana right now? Quickly, please, 2 minutes, and then we'll go.
That one will be very negative. The mass deportation of Nigerians from Ghana will render a lot of Ghanaians very poor. You see, during the Nanado's time, they blocked people from receiving money from Western Union if you can't prove that the person is your relative. And most Nigerians were bringing money through Western Union, through their fraud business. And it made the dollar was very common. But as soon as those bans came and they started to leave the country, you see the dollar price just starts flying high. And I keep saying rent. There are some people who I know in Ghana here who have houses where Ghanaians cannot pay the rent Nigerians are paying. Because someone has a place where he takes 250 cedis a month, a week for rent. So therefore, that person will not be happy if those people pack and left this place. Ghanaians cannot come and pay that rent, so it's going to render him useless. The people who are grocery sellers who sell provisions and things for the the Nigerians, they all become jobless, and it will become another hardship for the country. And as an African, Africa is our home. So I don't think any African country should be sacking their fellow Africans from one side of
Basically,
Africa to the other way.
basically.
But finally, the Igbo king thing, Ghana is a republic. We don't have kingdoms in Ghana. So I don't see why someone from another country will come and set a kingdom in Ghana here. So that one we fire against it. But that shouldn't lead to the deportation of all Nigerians from Ghana, you know, by
It's
the
just
system.
awkward talk to me if you ask me, because first of all, Nigeria has a whole lot of other tribes apart from Igbos. So if an Igbo person, let's say, is doing something crap, and it's even worth reprimanding this person, now, why would you take it all the way
It's all Nigerians.
to all Nigerians? But anyway, thank you very much, Kex. Excuse me, Doc. Before we wrap up, what do you think a potential Nigeria must go will look like to Ghanaians, both ways?
As I intimated earlier on Empire, that it will create a retaliatory situation where Nigeria will be also compelled down the line to send back home the 2 million or so Ghanaians who live there. But we should also be cognizant of the fact that we have all condemned the xenophobic attacks that our brothers in South Africa have meted out to fellow Africans in recent times. And it seems that we are adopting a similar, I won't say we in general, but some segments of our population are adopting a similar stance to have this whole idea of Nigeria must go. Why is there a situation where I hear that Nigerian shops are being destroyed? Now, the thing is, the whole idea that Nigerians are coming and quote unquote taking our business or taking our jobs. Let's put things in context. What business practices are they engaging in that allows them to be successful, that we see as preventing us from, acquiring the same level of success that they have, right? We have to learn from them. I mean, if they are buying things in bulk and that is making their things cheaper, why don't we also organize ourselves along the same lines? I mean, we can do it. If you go to China and buy your spare parts and come and you do it alone, the person who is buying in bulk, putting 10 people together and having that weight of capital behind them and being able to go and buy the same things in bulk and bring those things back to Ghana, can't sell those things at a cheaper cost than you who go by yourself. So we have to look at those things. And secondly, we cannot blame any economic hardship on Nigerians and ask them to go. And I think that is a bad precedent. I think we should learn from history that these must-goes have never helped Ghana or Nigeria. And what has happened in the past, let it stay in the past, and let's carve a future where, as my big brother Keck said, we're Africans living in Africa, and we shouldn't be feeling any level of insecurity in any part of Africa that we live. And Nigerians should be welcome to Ghana. And if there's anything that they're doing that we can learn from, let's learn from. And also not think that, stereotype them as people who are there for criminal reasons only. Because let's face it, any crime that Nigerian has committed, a Ghanaian has also committed.
Has collaborated.
Yes. I mean, this is a fact. This is a fact. So, yeah. So, I mean, first of all, they can't come from Nigeria and commit a crime in Ghana if we don't have a fertile ground for that crime to even be committed, right? So there are always perpetrators in Ghana as well, and we shouldn't. Are we also going to deport the Ghanaian criminals to the Atlantic Ocean? I mean, is that what we're going to do? So,
yeah. Dr. Kwejo Opowadie, thank you very, very, very much. Thank you so much. Kex Dan Pongo, thank you also so much for this story that you told me, Kex. You've told it to me many times, but every time you tell it to me, I get something new from it. It comes from a new perspective for me. Thank you very much for yourself for this. We will not stop this discussion. We want to get Hassan Ayariga. Once we get his motivation and speak to some other people. I would like for us to revive this discussion and see where we can go with that, because it behoves on us to bring our people together. We were here before the colonizers drew borders between us.
Yeah,
There are
man.
people
Yeah,
who are
man.
married on the other side and everything. How do you expect them to leave? To do what? It makes no sense. And by the way, if Nigerians withdrew their capital from Ghana, it would be disastrous. I'm just
And
saying.
quickly,
Disastrous.
before you go, Emperor, we should also not forget that these things divide families, right? These
Exactly.
Masgos divide
Exactly.
families, and which is
Exactly.
a dangerous thing to do.
Exactly. Even this Igbo king, I hear he's married to a Ghanaian woman. So what happens to their children?
Yep.
If you deport the Igbo king and the wife is Ghanaian, so she said, what happens to the children?
Right.
It's just absurd, this whole thing.
Yeah.
Again, thank you. Ghanaians, sometimes we talk as if we will not date somebody else in country. But there are Ghanaians in every single country on planet Earth. Go to Greenland, find Ghanaians there. But you want to send Nigerians away. Really? Anyhow.
And the trade issue, 1 second, the trade issue is not really something like the Nigerians are being bad. They find a way to sell their things cheaper, and the Ghanaians like to patronize it.
Exactly.
So the
All
greed
right.
is the greed should be put aside.
I have kept the honorable member in the agreement for too long. Let me go straight to my second interview. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Kex. We'll pick this up as promised. Thank you very much.
Radio, culture.